Welcome to ECN Trade Daily Video. Before we begin, it should be noted that any advice is of a general nature only and that your personal circumstances have not been taken into consideration. Hello everyone, my name is Rob Clayton and thank you for joining me. So the bullish door remains open for the Australian dollar after Tuesday's RBA rate decision was, as widely expected, no move, as in rates were kept on hold. Overall, though, Governor Bullock signalling a clear tilt towards future tightening, with an expected possible rate hike in February, as markets now pricing in the risk that inflation may continue to rise. However, if we do see numbers start to ease, then that could actually see a pause in the current pattern and maybe even get a cut. But overall, there is concerns of a hike, which has helped lifting the Australian dollar through the 66-cent mark and keeping an eye on that supply area, which is around 67 cents. That could see a rejection. Keep an eye on this RSI, as if prices do move higher, then we may find bearish divergence slowly forming and an overheated ADX that does support supply returning and maybe seeing a correction back towards 65.5. The euro, well, a little bit mixed or directionless as the market waits for the Fed's Wednesday rate decision, with around 80 to 85% chance of a rate cut. The US dollar remains somewhat soft despite Monday's brief lift from firmer yields, keeping the US dollar index pinned to near a 6-week low, but with some mixed views that the fact that the dollar could weaken. However, with no appetite for a direction for the euro, the focus will remain on the Fed's statements to see how Powell's tone to gauge in terms of easing cycles coming forward before Powell's term comes to an end. Also on Monday, we did get improvement for the euro in economic data, but still cautious remarks from ECB officials that rates may remain on hold as help support the rise. Nevertheless, technically, the top side is still capped around 117.1525 and any pullback finding support around 114.85 to 115.25. A slightly firmer case when it comes to dollar yen or the Japanese yen weakening, and also the market is pushing back above this once resistance, now support level that could see further supply eventually emerging around 157. 1050 area. Therefore, we could see a market take a downturn. Keep an eye on these technicals, they are a little bit mixed also. The pound also a little bit mixed here as a bit of profit taking comes back in and weighs on that level of 133. Overall, though, I'm not going to get too negative just because the technicals haven't fully broken down and therefore could see a bounce. A little bit of a support coming in with this trend line for commodities as gold rises back towards 4,200. I still feel there is scope up towards 4,240.50 and any weakness. Keep an eye on this trend. Unless we get a break of 4,188, I could see a move down to 4,176 to 78 and reassess. Wrapping up with oil, we're into the second day of weakness and still maybe finding support, that is. I'm not going to get totally negative here until we see a little bit more weakness in the MACD. Let's see if we can get a bounce back towards 59.5 to 60.5. And reassess. Well, that's a wrap. Thank you for joining me, and as always, look out for the intraday report. I hope you enjoy the great start of the day.